Greetings and welcome back to Game Design. This is lesson 24, Functions, and this is going to be one of the last programming concepts that we're going to go over. So as a reminder, we went over variables, a very important programming concept where you can store information, give it a name, and then we went over the conditionals, if this, then this, right, else, all those different pieces, if else, all that. Well, functions allows us to take code that we use over and over again and move it back. So if we think back to my Pong game, I mentioned this when I did it because it makes me mad that I couldn't do it, but you didn't know how to do it yet. And there's a couple pieces of code in there that do the exact same thing, and they're great for a function. This is where we learn how to do it. So, like always, watch the video before you start this. This video, which will be a link in the class, and then we'll go ahead and jump into this. It's not very long. There's two skill buildings, a predict, and then a practice. And I'll point this out. There is a collector game to go through, and then the challenges. So there's no assessments, so to speak. So as you're going through, realize you do the practice and the collector game and the challenges when we're done with the predict here, right? So we'll skip the video. We'll go straight into number 2. And again, show you how to use a function, what it is, and all that stuff, right? So let's jump right into level 2 real quick, and we'll see that, hopefully watch the video, that will also help a lot, right? But a function allows you to store code. You simply type in function, the name of it, kind of just like a variable, right? You need to give it a name and the parentheses. Eventually, when you get further into programming, you'll learn about sending parameters to it, and you'll learn about how to send returns. But for now, right, the key is just running this code very simply. So in this example, right, the whole point of a lot of this is when you make a function, you have to call it, right? You have to call it. So this code alone doesn't do anything. You need to call it. And you'll see that in a second because when we run this, we're not going to see any balloons, right? There are no balloons. The draw sky function is called, but we did not call draw balloons. So we need to draw balloons. Make sure I spelled it all right. Parentheses. So that is how you call it. And if you go over to functions, you'll see this creates it, and then this calls it. If you ever forget what anything does, remember hovering over it lets you kind of figure that out. So draw balloons, we'll call this at this point, right? Now, at this point, if I call draw balloons again, it's not actually going to do anything. I mean, it is technically. There's going to draw balloons on top of itself, but it's not. Why is my semicolon not working? All right. Anyway, my semicolon's freaking out right now, so I don't know why. Maybe my cursor's in the wrong spot. But you run it again. It's giving us a warning. But the balloons are right below it, right? Now this would allow us to. Something's freaking out here. I might just skip to the next one. If we had some random, like you saw in the video, we can randomly make stuff appear. So the more you draw it, the more it actually appears. But right now everything's steady, right? And maybe we'll do that real quick with draw sky because I'm going to refresh my page real quick. So bear with me. I'm going to refresh my page. Something's caught. Oh, that's why my control key's caught. That was awkward. All right, so my control key got caught. I guess I should figure that one. There we go. So I'm going to do the draw sky again, but I'm going to show you this. And this isn't part of this. It's just to show you more stuff with this. So we're going to use random number in the X. So random number, and let's do 0, 300. That. Well, let's do 400 since I no longer have that one there. So this is going to show you, again, if you didn't watch the video, or more practice, right, that we're going to draw a bunch of suns. That's what this ellipse is, right? It's a bunch of suns. So when I draw this once, right, you'll see the sun is here because it's random, and then, right, it'll randomly go across the sky, which is kind of cool in itself. But now we're going to make a bunch of suns, right? Maybe this is Tatooine or something. That was the wrong one. Alright, so now we should have 5 suns. As we go, ellipse, background. Okay, so here's what's happening. This is another good point. I'm going to drag this the top of our code just so this actually works. The background was running draw scry, and the background was covering it. So this was actually the last one that got shown. So again, this is good debugging. As you can see, even I make mistakes. There we go. There's all the suns. There's 2 over there, so 3 over there. So again, even I forget the order of stuff sometimes. But that is drawing the sky and giving us, really should probably call draw sun now at this point. That's all it's doing is drawing the sun. But that's an example of being able to call it over and over and over and doing something different each time, or doing what you need at least each time. So one more, and then you have, well, one more, and then you have more stuff to work on to finish it up. All right, so in this function, it's pretty much the same thing, right? We have all this. Now I'm going to show you one thing that's kind of nice, especially in Game Lab. What's nice about this? But right now we just need to call all of the functions, right? That's all this one is asking. Just reminding you to call it. I mean, again, the concept of the function is not that hard, right? You just take the code, you put it into this. You wrap it in one of these, right? This tells it where it starts, this tells it where it ends, and that's how it kind of locks us all into one function. You give it a name with parentheses, you call it, and that's it. There's not a lot to it. Remember, some of the hardest part is just remember to call it. But there are a few cool things about this, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And this kind of goes with the last one with the mistake I made, but right, you run it, we got the clouds in front. The nice thing about this, if we were to do this, and you've probably all have had this problem before, so this again might make it easier for you if you just put, again, there's a few reasons to have a function. One of the major ones is so you can call it later, as in on event, and that might be on the quizzes. But another one is something that you're using over and over and over again. Those are the 2 major ones, but a side one in this class, in this course, a side one is just to make it easier to understand. So watch this. I can take the trees and I can paste them after the clouds, and now they're on top, right? If you remember back from the old things, you have to highlight all this, and if you forgot a line or grabbed too much, right, and you copy and pasted it, your code would break. You probably struggled a lot with that in some of the other practices and challenges. So in this example, right, if I need anything, I want the fence to be behind the trees, I can just paste it behind them. So that's another feature, right? There's a couple major reasons, but this is a sub reason, right? You can really easily say, all right, this code is this, and then wherever I need it, I just use that one piece of code. Even if I only use it once, you can see how I can easily rearrange stuff. You're like, oh man, I got these all out of order, so I need to move all this, I need to move it up here, and then I break the whole program because I didn't grab everything or grab too much. But again, that is probably what you'll see, and what you'll need to do on your project is you're going to have code out in your project. You'll need to create a function for it, and then you're like, this is the code, I know this, and that's something you think about. This is the code I know does the background, right? This code exactly, double check it all, you move it into your function, and then you call this where it used to be, right? So that's what you'll need to be able to do. As you'll see when we do our Pong again, I'm going to take the ball reset. Right? That was the thing I was talking about, the ball reset. That happens whether it goes off the left or right screen, but I had like 8 lines of code to do that. I can now merge that all together and make one function and just call it in 2 different spots where I need it in the code. All right, one more predict, and then I'll let you go ahead and get going on to your practice and challenges. And again, remember there's a collector game to kind of go through. But with this, so far you've created a function at the bottom. Now, if you remember this from the video, again, so you can pause, run this, guess what it is, and then run it. But with this, if you remember the video, in JavaScript, it does not matter what the order is, right? So this will work. This will work fine. And just importantly, and I wish they would have like put draw green above draw red, because it doesn't matter what order these are, it matters what order they're called. So just because this is draw red, this is draw green, doesn't mean that because I put draw red and draw green, it's going to draw it first, right? It matters when you call them. So in this case, it should draw the red and then draw the green, right? Both squares are drawn. all squares are dawn. Right? That's something to think about. Now, that being said, you go into other programming languages, not the case. Python, you have to call this, you have to define it first, and then you can call it. So in JavaScript, I like to put functions most of the time like at the end for me, so I can just have all my code, and then I need to go down to them, I go to the functions. But in Python, you have to do it at the beginning. So whatever you pick your poison, just don't do this. Right? Don't do this. This is not a good way to do it. Put all your functions at the bottom, at the top. Not especially the whole point of it is you call them a bunch of different spots. So if you put them where you call them, well, if you only call it once, I guess it kind of makes sense. But if you call it a bunch of times, that's not going to work. So pick a top, pick a bottom. If it helps you, if you plan on going into Python, put them at the top. Otherwise, pick either one you want. But that's all I have, right? Go ahead, go through the practice. There's a quick check, collector game, and challenge. We will see you next lesson.